With the 2021 NBA season starting back up, I decided now would be a pretty good time to start a new series where I discuss every single team in the NBA before the season starts. I talk about how good I think they will be and how well I like their players, what I think they're going to do this upcoming year. And I decided it would make most sense to go in the order of the worst teams down to the best, like in my opinion. In today's video, I'll be discussing the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they rank 29th on my list because I think they're going to be the second worst team in the NBA, respectfully. But before we get into the video, I ask you to drop a like on this video as it does help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want daily NBA content. Also, if you want to help me reach my goal of 1,500 subscribers, I'm less than 100 away. Also, drop a comment on this video as I do respond to all of my comments, and play that intro. To start the video off, I'm going to talk about Cleveland on the offensive side of the floor. To be honest, I don't think they're going to be amazing on offense, as although they have a lot of guys who can score the ball for them at a decent level, their best offensive player is Colin Sexton, and he's not really a superstar type of player. And don't bring up Kevin Love, he's washed now. If I had to predict where their offense would rank, I'd predict them to rank some around the 18th to like 25th best offense in the league. But now to discuss like their players, how I think they will do on offense individually and things like that. First, I want to talk about Colin Sexton, who has kind of been in some trade rumors this past offseason. Those have kind of died down, and I don't think he's going to be traded, at least for now. But now, you have to realize he's the best scorer on this team. He honestly might be the most underrated player in the NBA. I'm really high on his game. He literally came off of a year averaging 24 points in the year before he averaged the same thing, and he's doing it on really good efficiency. I honestly expect him to average somewhere around the same amount of points. Maybe he'll go down a point or two, but I still think he's going to be the same level of player. To be honest, I think I could see him going to a different team just because it seems like a backcourt of him and Garius Garland won't be that good for real success because of the defensive side of the floor. Because although both of them are really good players on offense, they're not that good on defense, and like we've seen with Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, that can really hold you back. But nonetheless, I think Sexton will have another all-star level year. Next, to discuss their second best player in Garius Garland. He's a guy who I think is really underrated. He literally came off a year averaging 16 points and 7 assists last year on really good efficiency. I definitely think he's going to be a star level point guard in the future. He'll probably be the best player on this roster just because he can do more things than just score the ball, unlike Sexton. I'm still high on Sexton, don't get it twisted, but I think he's going to be a player who makes the all-star game a few times in his career as long as Cleveland gets better, and I expect him to take a bigger leap this year, maybe even averaging over 20 points per game if he's more aggressive. I'm really high on him. Next, we got to discuss who Cleveland selected with their number 3 pick in this year's draft, and they selected Evan Mobley, and I expect him to have a pretty okay rookie year. The only problem I have with Cleveland is the fact that they have like so much centers, and the thing with Cleveland centers is that they're not completely trash, as they have Jared Allen, Markkanen, and Taco Fall. And although I don't think Mobley should be playing over Jared Allen because Jared Allen is just simply the best player, you might be thinking, oh, Mobley could just play the power forward position. But honestly, that doesn't make that much sense because he's just not built for that. He hasn't shown the ability to be an amazing three-point shooter or anything like that. And if you actually wanted to reach his full potential, you have to make him play at his right position. And you might be saying, oh, Larry Markkanen is not a center. He's listed as a power forward. Bro, he's literally one of the slowest players in the whole NBA when it comes on the defensive side of the floor. He cannot guard any power forwards. He's going to need some minutes because they literally gave him like a 4-year, $67 million deal. I think as long as Mobley shows he could be a solid finisher, good defender, and like have a somewhat reliable outside shot, I think that would be considered a good year for him. I don't think he's going to be in talks for Rookie of the Year or anything like that, but I think he'll be solid. Next, we got to talk about Jared Allen, who got a humongous contract this offseason. Honestly, I think he's just going to continue to improve, maybe average somewhere around like 15 points and 10 rebounds, 2 blocks, just be a perfect modern day NBA center. I think he's a great player. I don't know how much he's going to improve off of last year because he played really well, but I guess we'll have to see. When it comes to Kevin Love, there's not much to say about him. His career is clearly on a downward trajectory, and it's clear that he doesn't really want to leave this team, probably because he doesn't want to miss out on this money, which I can respect. but I don't think he's going to be a huge factor for this team. He's clearly out of his prime, and I think he's just going to be a floor spacer at best. Next, I gotta talk about Isaac Okoro, who's one of the more underrated rookies from last year. He didn't put up crazy numbers or anything like that. On offense, he wasn't that great of a player, but he showed me at least that he has some potential to be one of the best defenders in the NBA on the perimeter. And if you could just either become like an average 3-point shooter or a great cutter and finisher at the rim, and he showed some signs of doing that in his rookie year, I think he could really excel in the NBA, because I see him kind of similar to Matisse Thybulle in the way that they both can be amazing defenders in the NBA, but if you're that terrible on offense, you're not going to get playing time. Although I do think Isaac Okoro was a bit like further developed than Matisse, but I definitely want to see him improve a bit more on offense. And lastly, I want to talk about Lauri Markkanen. I actually think there's a decent chance he can make a bounce back, have a bounce back year in his career. Only problem I have with him is the fact that, as I said, this Cleveland team is filled up with a bunch of centers, and they're definitely going to be looking to play guys like Jared Allen and Evan Mobley over Lauri Markkanen, because Jared Allen is simply the best center they have on their roster, and Evan Mobley is their future. And you might be saying Lauri could play the power forward position. As I said, he cannot guard any players who play the 4 in today's NBA, and he just fits way better as a center because he can rebound the ball decently, and he won't be afraid, he won't be forced to guard the perimeter as much, and he can also space the floor at an elite level if he plays at the center position. That would just maximize his play and really help the team. But honestly, I don't know how Cleveland's gonna handle all their rotations and stuff, so I question whether or not he's gonna get consistent minutes, but they are paying him quite a bit of money, so I assume he'll get at least a decent amount for him to prove his worth. That's basically all I have to say about Cleveland when it comes to them on offense. When it comes to the defensive side of the floor, I don't really expect Cleveland to be that good. As I said, their backcourt is already pretty disastrous on the defensive side of the floor. They have 2 guards who are shorter than 6'3" playing in their backcourt. That's obviously a mismatch. And yes, they do have Isaac Okoro, who I think is going to be a really good perimeter defender, but at the same time, he's only 6'4" or 6'5". He's not the biggest defender. He could probably be good on guards and stuff, but against huge forwards, I don't know. And yes, they have Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, who is projected to be a good defensive player. And yes, Jared Allen is a good defensive center, but we haven't seen Mobley play in the NBA, and although he's projected to be a good one, rookies usually struggle on the defensive side of the floor coming straight into the NBA, so I'm not ready to fully trust him. I would say Cleveland's defense is probably somewhere around the 25th to 20th rank. I don't think they're going to be that good on defense and in general. To just address to why I think Cleveland is 29th on my list and why I think they'll be the second worst team in the NBA, simply because this is not a team that is very talented. They don't really have they have 2 players who are probably an all-star level in Garland and Sexton, which is pretty good, but the rest of the roster is just not too talented. They have a bunch of players who are not really experienced, and they're simply just not that talented. As I said, they don't have a crazy good coach or anything like that. They have a few good individual players, but the fit is not amazing at all, and I think they have some ways to go until they can even sniff the play-in tournament. I expect their young players to show out and things like that, but I think they'll have a similar year to the one they had last year. The reason I have them over the Orlando Magic, which is the team I pegged to be the worst in the NBA this upcoming year, is because at least Cleveland has some guys who could actually average over 20 points this year, whereas with the Magic I can't see that. But nonetheless, I don't see also I want to say this, just because I say Cleveland's gonna be second worst in the NBA, it's not a huge, it's kind of disrespectful, but it's not a huge disrespect. Obviously they're in the tier of bad teams in the NBA. Doesn't mean they're gonna actually be the second worst. There's a bunch of other teams who I consider for the spot, so don't get your feelings hurt. Anyways, guys, that's it for the video. Let me know whether or not you think the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to be any good this year. Drop a like on this video to help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want daily NBA content, and if you want to help me reach my goal of 1,500 subscribers. Also drop a comment on this video, as I do respond to all of my comments, and I'm out.